Oh,
Good
okay.
morning, everybody. I'm Lawrence Winterman. This is the Daily Whatever. I've got two amazing folks with me today, standing in for Dana Dubois, Walter Rhein, and Nick Paro. Paro. Nick, how do I?
Paro.
Paro.
Yep.
Excellent. Guys, I know everyone here probably knows you, but take a minute to introduce yourselves. Walter, you go first.
Okay. Walter Ryan of I'd Rather Be Writing. Yeah, most people know me from Medium. I got started in this. It all started for me when I wrote an article about how my immigrant family was harassed for speaking in Spanish 10 years ago, and just been kind of peeling back the layers of American white supremacy and denouncing it ever since then. And
Oh
it
my
just keeps getting
God.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that last part is really true. It's just getting worse.
Mm.
Um, and I'm Nick Paro, writer of the Sick of This Shit with Nick and host of Sick of This Shit Pod, um, and now host of Shit Talk. I'm bringing the shit family everywhere because I'm sick of it. And I'm trying to get everyone else to, instead of just being sick of it, to go do the shit we say. Um,
Nice.
and so, yeah, it's great to be here. I write about political poetry. Most of y'all in the chat know me, or a lot of you do, anyways. I write political, socially charged, patriotic, and irreverent poetry at times. Um,
Awesome.
and I like to hit the topics of the day.
Yeah. And Nick has jumped in here and kind of jumped into the whatever's chat on the Daily Whatever with a vengeance and quickly become a valuable member of the community. So very,
Thank
very
you,
happy to have
Lawrence.
you here. Guys, I just want to start off a kind of like point of personal privilege, if I may, today, um, with some hard news that I think people are aware of because many of us are friends with Fasun. Our friend Fasun engaged in an act of self harm yesterday,
Oh,
Oh,
and
no.
thankfully, her partner and girlfriend Lena was there, and Fasun is okay. But I think she needs to feel some love from all of us, and so if people could reach out to Fasun and just let her know that she's loved and that she's cherished, I know that Lena would appreciate it. I know that Fasun would appreciate it. She is okay. Lena is taking her to get some help. And Godspeed. I hope that she will be back and participating in the community, early and as quickly as possible. And we're just all wishing her love and light and healing. So please keep her in your hearts and your thoughts and reach out and give her some encouragement if you would.
And
Uh,
I know a lot of us don't pray in this group or are religious in any ways, but if you have positive energy, send
yeah,
that her way too.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share that, and Lena posted it on Substack yesterday. So I'm not sharing privileged information, but I wanted to make sure that everyone knew. So thank you for that. Oh, and Lena's here. Thank you, Lena, for everything. God, you are such a blessing for Fasun and for all of us. So thank you, Lena.
and Lena, I know I don't know you or Fasun that well, but she has been an amazing part of this community that I jumped into, and I hope she comes back soon. And I wish her the best because she is amazing. She's joked around with me so many times so far in such a loving way. Um, and I hope to see her back soon.
Yeah, and we need her writing, right? She's one of the most
mhm.
gifted
She's
writers.
powerful.
For somebody who's writing in her, third or fourth language, she is just an extraordinarily talented writer. And so, yeah, for so many reasons, but also because we need her voice.
Yeah, every
That's
voice is important.
this
Yeah,
topic is so hard, and I know I've been through periods of just darkness too, and it's just, and I even now it's like, how do you get out of those moments? It's so difficult, and maybe if we just talk openly about it a little bit more, I mean, yeah, I know, but it always seems so when you try to give tactics, it just sounds like you're minimizing it, and trivializing it, and it's terrifying. I know I've felt in that sense. I guess I felt that sense that there's no escape, and I've always found there is an escape if you just can persist and keep going. And yeah, my heart goes out to people that go through that. It is hard. It's hard to feel that, and That's one of the things why we have to remember to be kind at all moments,
Yeah.
and just something as small as a smile or a little reach out or hearts on this live, as we mention her name, everything like that, it makes a huge, huge difference. Yeah, we need a more compassionate world is what we need.
Thank you, friends. Yeah, I completely agree, and I've been there myself too. Like being open about everything. I have struggled with depression and had experiences in my life where I have felt like there was no escape, and yeah, it does my heart good to know that she's safe and that she's taken care of, and that we're all here, kind of rooting her on. So thanks for taking a moment to kind of talk about that. And I gotta say, it's not like the world is giving
No.
any reason, for hope at this moment. Things seem particularly bleak, the news is just absolutely crazy. So,
I think that's just to take a point on that. I think that's where we all really come in doing the stuff like this. Is I was talking yesterday. It may have been with Lisa when I was on the live with her about building community in terms of like the action behind it and actively defending. I know I talked more than once about this with Wendy too. Is the idea of building community is an act of action, and like resistance is an action. And right now we have to be the light that other people need more so than we've ever been before. Like there's
Yeah.
a couple people who keep saying it. Joe Walsh, he's a very conservative. He started to help start the Tea Party, but now he's fighting with tooth and nail, and he's been fighting for the last 7 or 8 years, tooth and nail, to stop the Trumpism. And one of the things he keeps talking about is empathy and compassion and just building something better, like build together, working together as a unit and protecting each other and being active about it. Because that's how you let people know that they're safe, not by your words, but by your actions.
yeah, it's
She,
such a
she's
great.
okay. Let's say I saw somebody. They've been asking a couple of people to join. Like, everybody's okay. We're okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. We're all okay. Kristen's okay, and and we're just sending some light and some love, and to her and to Lena. Um, oh, and Lena's posting, so you can kind of uh catch in the chat. Yeah, Lena. So Lena, I'll read it. Fasoon had an incident last night where she felt she had no other choice but to do something silly. She's physically okay, and me and her friends are getting her the help that she needs. And then Lena corrected herself and said, "Not silly, sorry, but something she felt she had no choice." So you
And
know,
I think that
um,
that last point is really hard. And I know this is a really hard topic, but sorry to cut you off, Lawrence. But Walter, I
um,
think you were right. We have to talk about this type of situation, not Fasun in personal, but in general. Like I talked about it a little bit yesterday, or the other day. Is I've been suicidal too. Like I had a doctor at the VA after months of me not being treated tell me that I wasn't treated because the other doctor wasn't going to get paid for it, so he just ignored it. And he told me that multiple times in front of my kids. And I had someone question that yesterday. Like, if this is real, if this even happened, you
Yeah.
should go do this. Fuck, believe people.
right,
Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't need to hear any more than that Fusin had something happen to her, that she felt she had no other choice. I've been there too. I've been there. It sounds like the three of us on this chat have all been here, and so many others. And it's so hard to talk about. Like I'm shaking right now just talking about it, just
Yeah.
thinking about the multiple times I've sat in bed in mornings,
Yeah.
sometimes going, I need to just never come back. I
Yeah.
literally tried to walk into a forest one time after looking into the dark black pit of my truck and thought that was the only thing left to do. And I have kids. Like,
Yeah.
don't let it get you. And it's
right,
so hard. It's so hard to acknowledge that you're worth living too. And it's not about anything else. It's not about any external factors. It's about you are worth the light that you shine, and you're worth living just being you.
right.
And I think too, it's important to just know everybody goes through this. Everybody feels this. This is normal. And we push it aside and we pretend we can pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps and our social ideologies, all this. That's all a lie. This is kind of ties into what's happening politically. This is why we need these social programs, because all it takes is, you wake up in the morning, you spill your coffee, and then somebody, on your way to work, you're late, and it's like these things compile,
Oh, good
and any
morning
one
to
of
you.
them sometimes is trivial, but then you got the underlying just angst of life, and just it all comes down at once sometimes, and it's just, and then you're in that spot, and it's just like, and it feels like nothing you do is going to be enough. And I guess maybe the most important thing is it's just you got to celebrate any victory. Just taking a nap is a victory,
Right.
getting up that day,
Yeah,
surviving for one more second to see the sun come up or see a leaf or anything. Just give yourself a little
getting out of
time,
bed.
and you
Right.
just have to persist. I remember the most recent time that the dog was such a help to me, and the dogs just kind of know, like he would come up to, I would
Hmm.
just be sitting there like, oh, and and the dog would just come up and, like, suck it off you. You like, he'd be like, the bad feelings would just go away, and they
Yep,
just
the
absorb it.
head right into the chest,
Yeah.
and just like
Yeah.
my dogs do it too. It's so comforting.
Animals
It's
know.
so
Isn't
really
that
nice to
strange?
know. It's
I think we all
amazing.
have that impulse to be like that too. I mean, we
It's
all could
almost
just
like we
right
could
there.
give that empathy too. Like we have that capability as humans to give that to
Exactly.
each other. Um, and it's amazing. I just wanted to shout out someone I saw come in the chat. Morning, Dean. We have Dean Blundell here with us today.
Uh,
He's one of
please do.
my followers, and now friends. And if you don't follow him or subscribe to him, please do. He gives out some incredibly good information, and it's a
Absolutely.
lot actually a lot of the reason and inspiration behind some of my poetry. Um, so give him a follow. It's incredible news. Cat also love y'all.
Yeah.
Um,
Dean is a huge, huge resource for truth, and really honored to have you here with us today, Dean. I was just going to say that we've got a lot of support and solidarity and love
Yeah.
in the chat.
yeah,
Morgan is saying that she's been there. Beth has said that she's been there. Um, Eileen is talking about postpartum depression made it hard for her to get out of bed after both her daughters were born. Dean said, great conversation, lads. Never stop talking about hope, mental health, sharing vulnerability is the common thread that makes us all feel normal. Such an excellent point. So thank you, everybody, for all of this. I didn't mean to cut anybody off. Sorry about that.
no, I mean I get it. Do we want to try and shift a little though to something maybe less
You're reading my mind. I was
less
just going to say
depressing?
that we could spend an entire episode talking about this.
Yeah.
But the theme that I had originally kind of identified for us today was the outrage in political discourse,
Yeah,
because part of the reason I
Yeah.
wanted to bring the two of you on together is, in my mind, you've each got great minds and are really tuned into sort of what's happening in current events. But you've each got a hook, I think, that makes reading you both unique. So, Nick, you approach kind of talking about politics with your poetry, which is very politically informed. And Walter, you have kind of mastered notes on this platform. I
Uh,
mean, you're great with long form writing too, but your notes really just are so incisive and kind of cut to the meat, or cut to the bone of any situation. So we're all trying to deal with our outrage at current political events, and figure out how to speak intelligently and eloquently to each other. And so I thought that would be a great place for us to start. And hey, if we get bored, there's Epstein's files to talk about.
yeah, there's no shortage. There's no shortage of things to
yeah.
talk.
It's not like news is short these days
Yeah,
or slow. Um, I'll hop in real quick
yeah, please.
on this one to start. Is so a little bit about me then, because this is where my poetry comes from. Is so I originally went to School of Music at Carnegie Mellon, which, by the way, they're in the news for all the wrong reasons right now because they let Trump attend the Energy and Innovation Summit or whatever it was. And I sent out a letter to everyone I knew on an open letter saying, please sign this. We're sending it to the president and provost of the school. Bunch of people did. And it's incredible. I didn't start it, but I made sure it got out there. Um, and so I went to Carnegie Mellon for School of Music. I learned music theory and composition. So I wrote classical music for a little while. I have a couple pieces that are actually fully recorded, and I'd love to share eventually one day. Um, and after that, I joined the army. And when I got out of the army, I got out as a disabled veteran. I've done a ton of different things throughout my career. I just recently got out of the tech field for now, after I got laid off about a month ago. So I've really only been in this space for about a month. But I leaned into what I have been doing for a year and a half, which is a group therapy and private individual therapy, where I'm learning emotional distress tolerance skills and mindfulness. And I
Mhm.
finally decided it's time to really, really just put them all to use. Um, and so I lost my job, and normally I can be really depressive. I am depressed more often than not. I live with depression and anxiety, just like most of us do. How
Yeah.
can you not these days either?
Right.
Um, and instead of going down the rabbit hole of depression, I wrote. I wrote poetry, and I leaned into what I knew instinctively, which was how to write music and rhyme. And I sing and I rhyme all the time going around my house. And I finally was never been brave enough to put it out. And I finally just did. Um, and
Yeah.
I realized people enjoyed it right away. And people were giving me really good feedback, which is something I had not been getting in the tech field. Because it's a very negative place to live. Um, and so I kept doing it. And then I've jumped in more and more, and I found that I have a voice for it because I keep up on what's going on, and I want other people to be informed, but I want them to be informed maybe in a way that doesn't immediately piss them off. Like, news doesn't have to piss you off, even if it's bad news. Like, you can feel emotion, like an emotional strain on this, um, without having to viscerally feel it. Whereas I can get the visceral emotions out that I need to without being destructive to my family or my kids in my poetry.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and so I took that and I'm rolling with it. And everyone here has been incredible. Like, this has been an incredible platform to grow on. I never did any of it before. I've seen growth like I've never expected. And it's all
Yeah.
because of everybody else. It's not my doing. It's
Right.
because everybody else who's in here is like, oh, I like this, or I share this, or I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you I like it. And then when you talk about it, I'm going to interact with you. And that's what I love about this is it's so cool, and I get to put my personal spin on things while making them consumable. And I think we've lost the consumability, at least in like written news at times. And then I can get outraged when I talk.
Right.
Like when I do my shit talks, like
Yeah.
Wendy and I will get outraged
Oh,
on things, and I'll get into it because you got to have emotion.
Right.
yeah.
Well, and I think there's such a key point that you mentioned, which is
Oh, yeah.
there's
Wendy, thank you for calling it out. I put a shirt on today because of my conversation yesterday with Wendy. Show your pride and show who you defend. Mine says, when one member of the party is attacked, we all roll for initiative with the pride flags in D20. So go D&D and kick some ass.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You made such a great point, Nick, about dealing with the outrage in a way that doesn't impact the people around you, right? Like holding on to, the magnitude of what we're experiencing right now. You know, the literal downfall of American democracy,
Yeah.
massive conspiracies at every turn that are in fact real conspiracies to do harm and not some, wackadoo Pizzagate thing. And still operate in the world and not, hurt your family as you're thinking about these things.
Yeah, and because I'll just take it on what I've been most recently writing about is all the Epstein stuff. That is an incredibly hard topic to write about.
Sure.
Like, it deals with pedophilia. Like, it's disgusting. I don't
Yeah.
want to write about it. I don't want to even think about it. But I can get consumable news from friends like Dean and Zev and Lev, and I can know what's going on. And I can take that consumable news and get it in a way that other people can consume without so much, like I said, without so much of that visceral feel to it. I've only had one response to my poetry where someone was like, hey, can you think about, or like they offered me a suggestion in their pushback. And I responded to him and I was like, oh, absolutely. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I think I know what it was. I used a word choice that's probably inappropriate in most contexts, but in a poetry context, and I'm going to say the word choice, and I hope it doesn't offend anyone, is I said the lie cherry goes pop. And there's some really sexual connotations to part of that statement. But the lie is really important because that was the emphasis of it, because it was
Right.
about the manosphere and about their version and vision of the world exploding, but at the same time, very clearly referencing Jeffrey Epstein and
Absolutely.
what is
And
going on.
I remember talking to you about that, and and my takeaway was it's poetry and art are supposed to challenge. And by using that particular word choice, is it vulgar? Yes. Are you referencing pedophilia? Yes. But that's what the entire fucking scandal is about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And if people aren't feeling outraged about that, then they're not getting it.
No.
Like, as a
Yeah. You're
person who
ignoring the
was
truth.
molested at the age of 8 by a pedophile, I am triggered by this entire thing. And we all need to occupy that space of outrage because there are more than 1,000 women and girls who were tortured,
Yeah.
molested, raped. And we need to hold their outrage in our hearts because that is what this is about. Will it take down Trump? Yes. God willing, I hope so. But it's because it's a fucking outrage that anyone is allowed to be a pedophile and get away with it.
And not only is he that, and because it's the most vile thing you can probably be as a human being. Like,
Absolutely.
children are off limits, always, always.
Mhm.
Even before I had kids, children are always off limits because
Yeah.
that's fucking gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Believe me, as a survivor, I've made it. If I were ever in the presence of somebody who I knew was a pedophile, I think I
Yeah.
would murder the person because it fucked up my life, right? Like it absolutely had a mental impact on me for the entirety of my life. And I can only imagine for these girls and women who suffered at the hands of Trump and Epstein and all of the people involved. Like it has changed the course of their lives forever. How could it not?
yeah.
And so, standing up for yeah, Lena is saying that the reason those people get sliced up in prison is because everybody fucking
Yeah.
knows that kids are off limits.
Everybody hates them. A lot of prisoners have kids too, and they would never do that to a child, and they
Yeah.
hate them. And
Yeah.
we hate them for a reason. And now they're being normalized into our society, and that's an
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
And that's something we have to viscerally fight back against. I'm a little amped up this morning because I was actually
Yeah.
watching the Find Out podcast this morning, and Chris Goldsmith is incredibly smart. His job is literal Nazi hunter. He's a veteran like myself, and his job is Nazi hunter. He takes down neo-Nazi groups by either infiltrating them with a group called Task Force Butler, and they go after the financials, and then they run people out of town. And the thing he said this morning, which got me amped up, is Americans need to stop being so gentle about our displeasure with things, and we need to fight back.
Yeah.
And by fight back, he said, not physically, not always physically. He means go punch him in the nose by, if you know your neighbor's a Nazi, draw a quarter-mile circle around their house and go print out all of the flyers and stuff that have what they're saying with their picture and go talk and knock on every single door in your neighborhood and out that fucker as a Nazi. It's time we out these people for those behaviors. They want to out us for being good, nice, gentle people. Out them.
Yeah.
Out them
Yeah.
and push them out, because then they know they're not welcome, and those ideas don't
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't grow if they're not welcome.
Yeah.
So
That
push them
it's
out.
such a great
Be
point.
mean.
Let me add.
Uh,
Go ahead.
so I know that we've Walter, I want to give you a chance to speak because I started with, kind of an intro of both of you. I know we could go on Epstein forever, and I'm sure we'll get back to it. But Walter, tell us about you and kind of your notes mastery.
I'll go that to this in a second. I just want to say I'm sorry for what happened to you, and thank you for your courage for sharing that here. That's so important. And I just want to ask a question about, because so many, like every time one of these scandals breaks, and I'm worried about the survivors, like when the scandal breaks again, and there's a temptation to say, and we know a lot of them just don't make it, is one of the other things. And like the billionaires
Right.
that own these pedophile islands, they tie up their loose ends, and all those people a lot of them are dead.
Yeah.
And so I I just how do we be careful? Because part of me is like, we could reach out to the survivors and let them tell their story, and at the same time, I want to leave them alone to heal on their own. And I don't know, maybe I guess I want some direction in the context of how I should talk about something like that, and maybe
Yeah,
you could offer some insight.
I, I can only offer you kind of my personal insight, which is I have hit a point in my life where I have thought about this. I've talked about it. I've been in therapy. I no longer have any shame about what happened to me, and so I am ready to talk about it. I'm ready to kind of be out there. And if anyone fucks with me about it, I will absolutely fuck with them back because it's like I said, it was a transformational event in my life. It absolutely changed the trajectory of my entire life. I know that there are people who are out there who are still struggling with the impacts of what they experienced. And for those people, I think, it is, to me, it's kind of like, coming out as queer, right? Which I've also had to do in my life. And you can't force that on anyone. You can't out somebody before they're ready. That does more harm than good. And so I
Oh,
think by creating a safe place like this where we can talk
for the
openly
little one
and
come, I think. Yeah,
and you can say, I can say something like this and maybe that empowers somebody else to kind of say that they had
yeah,
an experience that was similar. That I think that's what we can do, right? And to let people know that that there are empathetic ears and
yeah.
hearts that are willing to kind of carry the burden, share the burden of their experience.
One example that came to mind is I remember driving around listening about when the Penn State scandal, where the coach was just he'd started like a foundation to help underprivileged kids just so he had people that he could victimize. And
Disgusting.
then they were talking about it on the news, and people started calling in with their stories, and it was a lot of priests. So they're like, "This priest did this to me," and then the station just cut it off, and it was just like, "We don't want to take it there." And like these protections that are in place. Now this gets to this whole social mechanism because you have very, very, very brave people that have testified, and somebody testified against Epstein. I guess I don't even know the whole story. A lot of the people that have spoken out, something happens, so there's fear. And like anybody who has experienced any sort of an assault, our society is not necessarily compassionate to them, and they feel this intense social pressure to be silent and just move on. And then we allow the predators. I mean, this is a pro-predator society, the United States, and in other parts of the world. I mean, every place probably has, but it's different throughout the world. Other places, I'm sure, are better, and we should learn from that. But just like this is the thing we have to deconstruct because this mechanism we say, let's not talk about politics and religion with family. Well, Jesus Christ, they're enabling pedophiles.
Right.
We have to talk about that. And we have
Yeah.
to go through this. And then people just kind of get you because they're just been so indoctrinated with this belief, like, oh, now. And it's like, and I guess part of it too is there's that fear. I was just reading an article by Will Fullwood and he was just saying one of his friends who was a Spanish speaker was speaking Spanish, and somebody's like, hey, this is America. We speak English. I've experienced that too.
Yeah.
And what you have is a whole bunch of bystanders remain silent.
I,
And
I,
and that's the problem because everybody's afraid you're going to provoke this crazy person, something bad's going to happen. But being silent is just as much an attack,
yeah.
as if that guy physically attacks.
Walter, I said this yesterday on the show that, it's that situation where, somebody's being murdered in the alley and there are 100 people in the apartments around and nobody calls the police because everyone thinks someone else is going to call the police, right? It's that
Yeah.
complicity of silence. And, I just throwing some stats in here, and please, somebody in the chat, double check me. But I think the last stats that I saw were that like 1 in every 3 or up to 1 in every 2 women has experienced some form of sexual assault in their lives. And it's like a quarter to a third of all men have experienced sexual assault in their lives. So there are so fucking many of us that I'm sure
Yeah.
we've got 104 people on this chat. There are a lot of us here who have experienced things like this in our lives. And so, I'm
I
comfortable
was
speaking up. I'm not saying anyone else has to do that if they're not comfortable doing it. I know people are kind of jumping in the chat. But yes, it's about acknowledging that this is not a thing to be ashamed of,
Yeah.
and it is a thing that we all need to wrestle with and not reconcile with. Speak up and push back against, because
Yeah.
otherwise we're letting the pedophiles win. We're
Well,
letting the abusers win, and the
yep.
Republican Party right now is probably the biggest organized crime ring in the entire world because everyone in that party is complicit in keeping pedophiles in power.
I keep saying, like, removing birthright citizenship creates children of no nation that they can do whatever the fuck they want with. And this isn't in the media. And it's like, where's the Democratic Party to say this? It's like, you remove that, go on the attack, call them what they are, because what possible good can there be from stealing the protections of citizenship from a baby? The only possible thing that's going to serve is some billionaire with a pedophile rape island that, and it's sad because a lot of the moderate Democrats seem to be along with the Republicans in supporting this bullshit. And yeah, we, we have to
One of
break
the
through because
things,
we're so indoctrinated that a lot of people don't even recognize, they won't even admit to themselves that. I bet the number's 100%, to be absolutely honest, because people are so indoctrinated, they think, well, this is just normal. And I've talked to a lot of people, they break, sometimes that'll happen in the comment section of my, like, I was talking about growing up in rural areas and how they make the kids work 15 hours and then they go to school on top of that, you know? And people are like, well, that made me into a man. And then they're like, it's not abuse. And they start getting hysterical in the comment. You're like, keep going. You're on the cusp of this realization that what happened to you was abuse. That's okay. We can talk about it. And then once you kind of get, and that's kind of what is dividing our nation, because we got the people that recognize and call things out for what it is. And the other ones are like, oh, it's not that bad. This is the greatest country ever. Haven't you heard? In every other place in the world, it's worse, you know? And it's just, that's what we have to break through and just admit everything's all fucked up. And you know, we can make it better. We have the power to make it better. We just recognize it. So, and I guess
yeah,
I'm getting all riled up here.
and if no, it's
We
great
all
because
are.
it's one of those things too that like I'm a veteran, and as part of the veteran community, it's a big piece that we need to actually confront is there's more male on male assault and abuse in the army, or that's where I was from, in the army or in the military in general, than there is statistically anywhere else in the country or anywhere else. We can fight back on that too. It's really scary to do. It's really hard to do. I get it. Like it's hard as, especially as a man, to go up to another man because we've been conditioned not to, like Walter is saying, is conditioned not to say anything. It's really hard as a man to walk up to another and go, "Hey man, what you just said was fucking racist and
Yeah.
bigoted."
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
need to start having the bravery to do it because if we don't, really, who else is going to? And if we do it, once we do it and we do it enough, others join in. And we've been indoctrinated into this fear because we're afraid, oh, this guy might shoot back. This guy might hurt us. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah. They're
it-
cowards.
it-
They're not gonna.
they're cowards. And if they do shoot back, one, somebody else has got a weapon and they're going to shoot back at them too. And it's going to get fucking messy as shit. And two, I hate to say it, we cannot let them fear us into obedience because that's what they
Yeah.
want. The
Right.
threat of the weapon itself is the threat. They might not have one, but the act of pushing back, that threatens them in a way they're not used to, and it gets them the fuck out of our communities.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate them. I absolutely hate them because we're destroying our country for a pedophile who is
Yeah.
tied to an international crime ring. Because this isn't isolated to the US. This is a fucking international crime ring that
Right.
has taken over the US that
Yeah.
leads directly back to ruble red Russia. And they told us in the 80s that they were going to do this to us.
Right.
Yeah.
They told us towards the end of the USSR that they were going to infiltrate the US and take us down without a single shot fired. And guess what? They're doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, Nick. I think about that all the time, that they literally told us that they were going to infiltrate our society and pit us against each other. And they have done exactly that. And I mean, you just need to look at something like how the NRA is massively funded by Russia and think about the damage that the whole, that whole argument has done to our society. And
Or think about the NAR, the new Apostolic Reformation, and the Dominionists, those guys. They are directly behind the destruction of moral fabric in society. And that's really what it is they're tearing the moral fabric apart and they're going like this because when there's chaos, fascists take control. That's what they need. They need the chaos and destruction of our society to do it.
Yep.
I always come back around too. I mean, we allow, what we need is more women in positions of church leadership, is what I say. I think that would be a fundamental difference. And I think that's, yeah, I think if I think if you had women in church leadership, they'd put an end to the
in all
child rape.
leadership. Can I just say, like, as a
That's true.
man, I'm
All
fully on board for women in all positions of
yeah,
leadership. Ruth Bader Ginsburg had that famous quote where
yeah,
someone asked her
9.
how many women on the Supreme Court would be enough, and she said 9, right? And then
Yep,
she said, there have been 9 men, or, there have been men on the Supreme Court. It hasn't always been 9. There have been men on the Supreme Court for the last 200 years. So maybe after there have been 9 women on the Supreme Court for 200 years, it will be
yep,
enough. If there are women, women as in the presidency and running all of
yep.
Congress and in our governorships and running everything for 200 years,
That's
250 years,
fine.
then it'll be enough. I think the world would be quite different if we had women in charge.
And I think one of the big problems in why I mentioned the church was because that just normalizes in every community across America. We just say, well, women aren't allowed in leadership roles. And that just kind of sits there in the back of people's minds. And we have anti-discrimination laws. They shouldn't get an exemption from that. They shouldn't be able to say we don't ordain women. That's just disgusting. And I have these conversations with people a lot. Anytime anybody talks to me about their church, I say, "Well, do they ordain women?" And no. It says, "Well, I have daughters. Why the fuck would I go to a church that would tell my daughters they can't be a leader?" And
Yeah,
Yep.
and why isn't that needs to be said everywhere? I want the president to say that, and that's when we get to that point, when we have a woman who is pope and we have a president who's a woman and a vice president, just as you said, this kind of bigotry, it's just, and that just feeds everything else. That feeds the rape culture and it feeds the pedophile culture.
yeah. So we're getting a little pushback in the chat. So Tina Jones says there's plenty of shitty women. Look at Trump's cabinet. Funny Farm Aaron says shitty white women. You know what? I agree. Yes, there are absolutely shitty women out there, but wouldn't it be nice to at least try to have some
Well,
women
yeah,
in
the
charge?
fact that it's an exclusion, like a universal exclusion, I think is what the issue is. It's like, and yeah, it does bother me. It bothers me that what's the point of having anti-discrimination laws if we give exemptions to those laws, right? That's kind of the issue. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right. There are bad, there are people that are not, what we want to see, but I think we got to have the choice to pick from the biggest potential positive pool.
absolutely.
And
Robin
that choice
Wilding.
is important. Oh, go ahead.
Robin jumped in and said, "There's shitty women in power. Many women in power have, however, are playing a men's game and end up being more masculine in their
There you
decision
go.
making. We need
That's a
women in
wonderful
power
argument.
using more feminine leadership qualities." I can get on board
Excellent.
with that for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful way
Yeah,
of putting it.
we need to get away from the toxic masculine qualities of leadership because they're toxic. They haven't done us any fucking good. Like they're destroying the world. We're leading ourselves toward World War III because of a bunch of toxic men who could have just gone to therapy instead and talked to somebody
Oh
and
my
been like,
God.
"Hey, I got some issues. I really need some help." You know how easy it is to just, I mean, it's really hard and scary before you do it to do it, but you just have to do it.
Yeah,
And they're just toddlers who never grew up out of being 12 years
Yeah.
old and think they can bully their way through society. And some of them have, and it's disgusting because they bullied their way into the most powerful positions
Yeah.
and they force people to be bad at their jobs. Like there are like, yeah, Robin's right, and everyone's right.
Yeah.
There are some shitty women in the world, but I bet you there's a lot more good ideas coming out of some of the women in the world than there are men. And we've tried, and we've
Yeah.
given it a shot. We've given it a shot for hundreds and thousands of years in some places. Let's give some women a shot because they deserve it equally too. And if they're
Yeah.
just as good or better, they should be there. Like it's not about what you look like. Martin Luther King Jr. said it well. It's not the color of the skin. Or in my opinion, it's not the sex of the person. It's what they do. It's how they do it and what
I
they
want
do with that power.
I want to thank the chat too. That pushback was wonderful because it really does. As I was thinking about it, so I'm going to double check this because we got to a point of better clarity what we were trying to say, and I want to just revise what I'd said. But yeah, I think we get this indoctrinated set where these things are off limits, and then we get this
Mhm.
very narrow potential for a future. And if we just have the open forum, it opens up all these possibilities. So what the pushback of the chat was very valid, and I appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah, I love
That's
it.
one of the things that I love about this chat, and going live on Substack and the whatever's chat that we've kind of grown here. So thanks everyone for jumping in. And honestly, it's moving faster than I can keep up with, but I absolutely love it because there's so much sharing and good insight that's going on.
Yeah, we have an incredible crowd today. You guys, everyone here today is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
seriously. If I could take 1 minute to just say, Gen X is in the middle of its summer pledge drive, so please consider becoming a member of Gen Xe. We'd greatly appreciate it. It's $20 for an annual lifetime membership for Gen Xe, and then $1 for my Substack and $1 for Dana's Substack, my lovely co-host who's not with us today. So just a minute to say that. Thank you so much, and thanks everybody for being here. I'm not wrapping up. I'm just kind of, inserting a
oh,
little
it's a great
ad
mid
in the
plug.
middle of the conversation.
Please
Yeah.
please buy our merch.
Right.
Yeah.
Buy our merch. We do the NPR model where everything is free unless you support us. So, um, yeah, guys, this has been an incredible convo so far. What direction you want to take it? I feel like we could keep talking about Epstein, and I'm not sure. The latest that I know is that yesterday we got confirmation that Trump's name is in fact in the files, right? That Pam Bondi told him sometime in May that his name is in the files. And I don't think his name is in the files as like, help Jeffrey Epstein pick out rose damask
Yeah.
wallpaper for his kitchen remodel, right? I don't think it's that.
Yeah,
What do you guys
so
think?
latest reporting that I've heard is obviously we have the 1,000+ FBI agents who had to comb through hundreds of thousands of documents, which tells you something because you don't need 1,000+ agents to do a control F in a document and
For
find
real.
somebody's name, um, unless they're over all of them or the whole damn thing's about him. There's a reason they can't let it out because he's everywhere in it.
Right.
Um,
Right. If they redact
and
it, it's going to basically be like the
black
Epstein
lines.
report, the end.
Yeah, it's going to say Epstein's name, island, pedophile, end.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's pretty much all they're going to be able to do. Um, but and then yesterday on top of it, the one of the House committees voted 8-2 with Republican support
Right. 3 Republicans.
to subpoena the Justice Department and take all of the Epstein files. That being said, the one thing the Justice Department can still do in all of this is they could redact everything. They could hand over to the House a big old stack of paper with black lines through the entire thing, and they can call that okay. So
Yeah.
we have to watch for that. It's not over. This game isn't over, and it's not going to be over for a long time, but we have to keep pressing. And one of the things I wanted to say earlier, and this goes into the heart of it, because Walter, you were talking about it, about like complacency on moderate Democrats, is if you live in a blue district, especially a safe blue district, call and email and
Yeah.
do more than I do. I live in a red district. My representative is Steve Womack. He ain't gonna do shit. My senator is Tom Cotton and John Boozman. Tom Cotton won't do anything. They've literally lied to me. They've had staffers lie to me in phone calls. Like they're not going to do anything. But if you call, if blue people call their representatives, if Democrats call their reps and make it known that you're going to get your ass voted out of office, maybe they'll do something because they have to be
Yeah.
afraid of us as the voter. And if they're
Yeah.
not going to do that, go sign up for the site runforsomething.net and sign up to run.
Oh,
Like, even if
great.
you're not going to, just sign up to run. Runforsomething.net. It is free to join. I've seen this on a couple sites before, and if
Excellent.
we get 1 million people, 10 million people just to run for every position in the country on the Democratic side, that's too many people to run, but it gives us primaries in every single district on
Yeah.
every single issue, and it puts the issues out in front of everybody because you cannot vote for something if you don't have somebody to vote for. Jess Piper says it really well, is she doesn't vote against her own interest. She doesn't have anybody to vote for, so she can't vote. So
Yeah.
go give people somebody to vote for
It,
because you might not win, but your neighbor might,
right. It's
or your
such a
Yeah.
rep
great point.
might.
It's such a
And
great
robot
point, Nick. And I want to
make them
remind
face the
people
question.
Yeah.
in 2004, when Howard Dean was the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, he implemented, and people know at this point, I think I'm a huge Dean fan. I was a Dean delegate to the 2004 Democratic National Convention in Boston.
He was
Yes,
my governor
did
and I
that
loved
one.
him.
He did that one weird yell thing, but he was
Yeah.
ahead of his time. And when he ran the DNC, we actually had a 50 state strategy where we had candidates for nearly every position, including dog catcher, in every district in the country. And we actually, in 2004 and 2006, in 2006, we won things. And in 2008, we had Obama. So, there's a lot of good about contesting every race because you're right.
Yeah.
Like if the blue tidal wave is going to hit, it can only
Uh,
lift the boats that are there, right? Like it doesn't
Mhm.
matter if you've got a blue tidal wave if there's no blue candidate in your district.
Yeah.
and they're so entitled, like the sitting politicians, they refuse and they get all snitty about this idea of primaries. It's like primaries get you in the news, it gets the conversations, it allows the public to talk. And, during the debates,
Keeps
it
your
was even
ideas
debate.
fresh.
I'm sorry?
Keeps your ideas fresh too.
Yes, that's it, and then it's the opportunity for people to participate in democracy, and it's like, it's so frustrating when they don't ask these questions, we don't press the politicians, and if you run for office and you get on a debate stage with somebody, you can make them face some of the comments and get people thinking about it at least, and that's always just kind of the start of this, because we have so many things, and that's why I was getting back, we just accept, the exclusion of women from leadership and all the things, these are things that are so normalized, we accept it, we don't push back on it like we should. And that's what allows it to be maintained. Just talking about it is so important. And what we were talking about before is how you get to that dark place where you feel like nothing is efficient. It's like just anything. If you make any kind of action, celebrate it as a win. Getting up in the morning and writing an article. I mean, people have been asking me how I've been able to put out so much content. It's like it's the anxiety. It just pours out. It's like I have to do it. Then I can go have a kind of a nice day after that. But if I sit and I don't write these things, I start freaking out. But so that's a win, and celebrate it as a win. Get the words out there. It doesn't matter if we win or lose. Just fight. Keep fighting because the fight's never going to stop. It's never
Yeah,
going to
it's
end.
it's the Cat Abigazela or Deja Fox model also of, and if you're gonna run, go do something for your community. Like run and then make sure it's really well known because you're doing it all the time. Open a freaking food pantry. Deliver like
Yeah.
goods and stuff to your community.
Yeah.
Hold town halls, meet your neighbors, go do it. One, you may make some new friends,
Yeah.
which is always a good thing. And two, what's wrong with accidentally giving your neighbors some extra food if they need it? Like,
Yeah.
they're going to remember that compared to a politician who, say, has never been there for you. They're going to remember that Walter Rhein came over and dropped
Yeah.
off a bag of food to the pantry or sat there for weeks at a time, giving out food and pantry and helping people and donating clothes. They'll remember that because you cared. And that's what we need. And that's how we win. Because, like Lauren said, if you don't have someone to vote for, it doesn't matter how big of a blue tide is. A
Right.
blue tide
Yeah.
only helps if we actually break super majorities in the states. The
Right.
federal level is one thing, state level is where we all get decimated all the time. Like,
Absolutely.
I live in Arkansas. We're screwed because our state is a super majority red. We're 48th or something in
Mhm.
education, and it keeps getting worse. We
Yeah.
could break that if we get a couple more local folks to get into the house, the state house. All that takes is running for every position: dog catcher, school board, sheriff, mayor, comptroller, whatever it may be. Just run.
Yeah. Yeah. Patty Murray, my former senator from Washington State. I mean, she's still currently senator. I just don't live there anymore. She famously got her start running for school board because she was outraged about school board decisions and then, ran kind of this insurgent Senate campaign, running around in tennis shoes and just going everywhere and talking to everyone. And she won. Now, she's one of the people of the age where I think maybe she's been in power long enough and it's time for her to kind of move on. Although the Senate is so hierarchical and seniority based that she's really only now kind of in senior leadership positions. That's a whole other ball of wax. But
Yeah, we could break that too.
yeah, we need to break that piece as well. Younger people, more people running,
Yeah.
people of color, people of all diversities. Um, that's what
Yep.
we need.
And people who aren't owned by the billionaire class, which is
Absolutely.
the reality of what the government is. And God, do they have enough money to win every single race? I don't know. But then it's like you just see it because if you're running for a race and you can fundraise and you can put up political ads, it's an opportunity to educate the public. Let people know how women are dying because of these restrictions on reproductive health care. It made me furious that they weren't showing that. I mean, political ads are so bland. We love America more than they love America, and that's all they say. It's like you're literally running hundreds of hours of ads. It should be the equivalent of a college course where we educate the public and tell them the reality of this country, and they deliberately don't because we've got this whole narrow narrative of what this country is and who's allowed to be in charge.
Right.
And that's our whole problem. This is we're supposed to be we're supposed to be able to get control of our government by the consent of the governed. And yeah, just get out there and be part of it. That's really important.
Of the people, by the people, and for the people, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Somebody was saying run.
That's one of their saviors.
Oh, yeah. People are saying run as an independent because people are so pissed off at both parties right now. That could be, and you can just get in there. You can jump in a race and just take votes from the candidate that's not good. I mean, you can influence these races in a lot of different ways. So
Yeah, and that's the thing, is if there's no one running, just run. Just do
Right.
it.
yeah,
Even if you know you're
yeah.
not going to win, even if you know you don't want to really serve, if you fucking win, too bad. Now you got to do it. You signed
Well,
up.
and
But if
there's
you don't, you get people out.
yeah, and there's a famous aphorism in like, campaign manager land that, you run the first time to lose. You know you're going to lose,
Mm.
but you're learning the ropes so that you can run the next time and win. And, I don't know how much truth there is to that, but it's very often the case that somebody runs and, comes close and doesn't quite succeed the first time, and then they run again, having learned the lessons of the first one.
A lot of our best candidates are repeat runners.
Right.
Yeah. And that kind of gets into that whole narrative of the United States of it's either victory or it's absolute failure. And we got to get away from that mindset too.
Right.
And, all the rich people already know this because they get all their free government subsidies in the amounts of billions of dollars. Just the rest of us that every time something goes wrong, we have to dwell in misery for the rest of our life.
Oh, you haven't gotten your letter to go to your freedom city yet.
Wait, what is that? I don't know. I don't know that.
Oh, during the it's part of the tech fascism thing. Is during the campaign, one of the things that came out, I think it was Elon Musk, probably fueled by Curtis Yarvin and the Peter Thiel side of it too,
Uh,
was they wanted to introduce this idea of freedom cities, which was, as they put it, like basically anti-woke cities. In other words, they want to make corporate towns and slave towns
Oh,
for
great.
techno-fascists, where you go in and it's basically RoboCop or Judge Dredd style rule, where you live under a fascist dictatorship, just in a really small scale, where they just have their little fiefdoms of
Nice.
tech oligarchies,
And
or
every
as I like to
restaurant is
call
Taco
robber
Bell.
barons,
yeah.
or every restaurant is the Trump taco restaurant that just popped up, or
Right.
the Trump restaurant that just popped, Trump Burgers, I think it was, in Texas. I saw a cat, I think, posted something about that. Like, what? What is this nonsense? This is not North Korea, but we're acting like it.
How could you convince me more not to eat a particular burger? Call it Trump, where I'm then sure it's the cheapest beef sourced from the worst, the worst cattle rancher in one of those big, forced feedlots that is going to be riddled with E. coli, guaranteed to kill you.
I'd rather go to Chick-fil-A.
Right. Ooh, that's bad.
I'll
Examples
let you
of
go
two
to
bad
Chick-fil-A
things.
on Sunday
Right.
because it's the best way to go.
Oh my God.
Is that
Yeah.
close?
What is the famous Simpsons quote? I'm so hungry I could eat at Arby's.
We have the meats.
We have the meats.
Oh, boy.
Oh my
This has
gosh,
been a
you
hard
guys.
one. We've
We've
covered
got
some hard
5
ground
minutes.
today.
We've got 5 minutes. Give me your closing pitch for the week. Walter, kick us off. Tell me what's top of mind for you for the rest of this week going into the weekend.
Oh, we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. We're going to take the family to watch the Fantastic Four.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to try and get on the river again. And I'll be thinking about this talk. I mean, a lot of people have said some wonderful things today, and I take these and the responses seriously. I'm going to go for a walk. I always go for a walk afterwards and process this. The feedback always really helps. It helps clarify how we can be more clear in our message. And I think we're all united in this idea. Sometimes there's a little bit of pain though as you break through those ideas that you think are part of your identity that have been implanted. I've been writing about that a lot lately. And yeah, just keep pushing. There's this opportunity to see a whole new reality. And I know that I get new visions of it all the time. And a lot of my writing, like you were saying in the notes, a lot of time what I do in the notes is I'm finally getting back to that, but I just kind of put out ideas to test and see what the response is and see what people are ready to talk about yet. And I do change my own thinking often with the response of what people say. I realize it's my thinking not quite right. Fix it, correct, get a little bit better. And I think we're always ever upward and ever onward. And so, yeah, thanks for the community of Substack. How
Do
about
you
that?
have any long form writing that you're working on right now, Walter?
Yeah. Well, I've got so much. I've got 100 articles scheduled to be posted. You guys think I'm right? I limit it to 3 a day because and it's like this is the anxiety too. I got my phone is overflowing with notes. I'm always getting these announcements and I'm running out of memory because I'm recording so much. So I got all that to process. I wrote one. I wrote a couple this week that I'm really proud of. The one about what's it called? The prosperity gospel,
Yeah.
which we don't even teach the Bible anymore. You know, the quote in the Bible is the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And yet we've got the prosperity gospel was just to overwrite that. And I said that turned all Christians into Satan worshipers because you're all worshiping, you're quoting things that are not in the Bible, like devils with tridents is not in the Bible. You know, that's in the Dante's Inferno.
Right.
So you got in your head, it's like these things, they're not in the Bible. And that whole worship of money is the worship of evil. So that's what you guys are doing. And that's one of them. There's a couple more set to go. Yeah, I'll love the comments when they land. So I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to that.
damn, Walter, that I got to go read that because I'm with you. That is definitely some nefarious shits that they're doing in religious communities. Nick, what about you? What are your final thoughts before the weekend, and what are you working on?
Final thoughts for the weekend. I'm gonna try and go have a good weekend with my family and my kids. Go do something fun if we can. It's beautiful weather out here in Arkansas. Um, and maybe try and get out to the creek too and get some swimming in and just relax.
Nice.
Um, for thoughts on the week though, is I'm going to continue hammering the Epstein saga as I have. Um, but I'm also going to continue what I've been doing in the shit talks, which is focusing on what we can do as a community to actually act and turn from being sick of this shit to doing the shit.
Nice.
And I think that's really what we need to do is we need to move to the mentality of doing the things. Um, and it's going to be tough. So I'm going to keep just calling it out. I've been calling out men that look like me. I've been calling out the bigotry and the misogyny in a lot of it. I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to keep being more vocal about it. I've got poems. I write a poem every day. I It's pretty much how I fall asleep at this point. Is I have to get the poem out before the morning. Um, but I let it fester sometimes until the end of the day because there's so much crappy news. I have to distill down what I actually want to write about. Um, but I'm gonna just keep doing what I do. You'll see a lot more. You're gonna keep seeing a lot more of me. Um, like Wendy said, I keep screaming, and I'm gonna keep doing it because we need to. Um, and I swore an oath to defend and support the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith to that oath ahead of the president or any officer.
Yeah.
I was an enlisted soldier. That's your creed is to bear true faith to the Constitution. Let's
Yeah,
do it.
Nick, I think this is actually pre you joining the community. Dana and I and Frederick Pogue, one of our friends and big allies, came up with this thing called the Citizens Oath, which is a slightly modified version of the oath to the Constitution for just regular citizens, because citizens don't normally take an oath, right? Unless you're being naturalized, unless you've been elected to something, or unless you're in the military or working in government services, you don't take an oath to the Constitution. And so we put together a citizens oath that if you go to citizensoath.org, the oath is up there. We were trying to get that to take off. We should talk to you about that at some point,
Oh,
Nick.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I think that's great because, and we have to remember, I'll close this out for myself and for everyone, is the highest rank in America is citizen and voter,
right.
not president,
Yeah,
Supreme Court, not Congress. They're underneath us. They are public servants. They serve the public.
yeah, yeah.
Remind them that the public is better and bigger and louder than they are by being bigger and louder. So let's be the highest rank in this country
Yep.
and go take that citizen's oath. And I want to definitely talk to you about that. I think that's great. And I want to talk to Fred too. It's Frederick sometime too. He's
Oh
got a
yeah,
lot of good
you two
stuff
have
to
got to
say.
meet. I feel like that's going to be an epic 3 hour live.
Yeah.
The two of you together.
Oh my God.
Um,
Substack will kick us off halfway through.
I don't think so. I think you'll end up having hundreds of people. I think it'll be great.
We got to set the record like the filibuster, the longest ever live, like a whole week.
I love it. I love someone out there has got to have done it, right? And so there's a record to be beaten. Guys, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. It's been a wide ranging conversation. There's been a lot of
Oh,
love and support and some great
yeah.
insights. Thank you for everything. Thank you for everybody in the chat showing up. Please send Fusen your love, everyone.
Yes.
Go sign up for Gen Xe Pledge if you would, please, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks,
Yep.
Walter. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate
Thanks.
both
I'd
you
love to
men.
talk to you again, Nick,
Oh,
sometime.
absolutely. Thank you, Walter. It was such a great conversation today. Thank you,
And as
Lawrence.
always with Lawrence, too. Thank you.
Love you all.
Awesome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. All right, everybody. We love you. Mean it. Bye.
Bye.
Mwah.